um, about something I did a short on last night, and it was about the fact that it's a lot of people on the internet that are always giving like dating and relationship advice. And a lot of times these people are single, and from the looks and the sounds of it, they're not happy at all. Um, a lot of times they talk about like how women are, I guess, essentially gold diggers, and then the women are often talking about how guys are broke and all this other stuff. Or even I've heard some people, talk down about people who are married, right? And there may be another community on here that I haven't tapped into yet. I'm still kind of new to everything, but I noticed that people who ain't speculating about the lifestyle, they're not really talking about it. Um, and hopefully, I do find a group of people who are married, who are raising their kids, and it's not a, I don't know, it's not, there's no glamour, there's no glitz to it, right? Um, like take today, it wasn't extravagant, it was just, it was a beautiful day outside. I looked at the weather forecast this morning and I realized tonight the weather's supposed to be going down, right? So it's just one of those days. I'm in North Carolina and it gets like that. It'd be a beautiful day. And then by the time the afternoon rolls around, it starts raining, thunderstorm, whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna get the kids dressed and we're gonna walk around the neighborhood. Um, $0, 0 cents, and we just go and have a good time. Their dad is away at work, so he will call in. We'll do like a video chat when he has time. And no, it's not like a shiny lifestyle, and most people will call this boring. But I think there's something more important to this conversation, which is when you get to a certain age, you are not into what everybody is chasing. And the chase is more appealing than hi Co-Craft. Shout out to Co-Craft. The chase is more appealing than the break. So, I'm at a break time in my life, right? Like I'm chilling. Like one thing I will say about growing up, like I felt like everybody was in a rush. Even like when I was in middle school, everybody was in a rush. I never was this type of person, but I used to get bullied all the time because I didn't have a boyfriend or whatever. And then there would be girls who had girlfriends, and they were like, well, even girls can get somebody. Why can't you get somebody, right? And I just never felt the need. You know what I mean? Like, I just felt like maybe it's because of the family that I grew up in, where I saw so many people rushing to getting married, and I've seen so many people rushing to having kids. And my stepdad, he was real big on me taking my time. Um, and I don't know, I just felt like at that age, I was just focusing on having fun and, playing with my friends and stuff like that, cartoons, stuff like that. Um, Fast forward to high school, everybody knows how that goes. Got a few classmates who are pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And then by the time I went into the military instead of straight to college. Now we're the new younger adults or whatever, right? So now we're just at this point where we're figuring out our lives, right? And everybody's pulling us in different directions. But now that I'm at that age where I'm old enough to know better, I'm looking at my colleagues and I'm like, we used to criticize all the time our parents and the adults that were raising us. And now we're at an age where, okay, so I'm in my 30s, and it's like everybody in their 30s, they're still doing the like gender war thing, right? Which I just felt like we're still having the same conversations we had when we were kids. Like, everybody criticizes their parents. Everybody talks about what their parents could have done right. But nobody is having that real talk about what we're doing at our age. Like, I can't even, I sit here and I think all the time about, what 50, 60, 70-year-old could I go to if I needed advice? And a lot of times they're not on the internet. They're really not on the internet. And I'm guessing because they like me. Like, either they like me, they chilling, or like they're like a lot of the older people that I see. And those folks they don't have anything to offer, right? And no disrespect to them. Like, a lot of the older women that I used to listen to for insight and direction and stuff like that, they're real big on this strong independent thing. And I've been looked down on because that strong independent thing, there's nothing wrong with being self-sufficient and a responsible adult. Nothing wrong with any of those things. But when you see yourself as better than somebody else just because you got your ducks in a row a certain way, I think that's a little crazy, right? But at any rate, now it just puts me in a situation where I'm like, okay, I thought the whole point of criticizing adults when you grew up was so that you don't end up like those people that you criticized. But we're worse. We're much worse than the people that we used to criticize. So now, just going back, a lot of people say, they want to marry the person of their dreams and all this other stuff. And just me talking from experience, being married and everything, being honest, this is not what I dreamed about. It's not. Having my husband being who he is, I did not think that I would be married to the person that I am married to. But the most wonderful thing about being married to him is that he's actually everything that I wanted. And in turn, I realized he was actually everything that I needed. Because it's so easy for society to be like, oh, that person has to be a certain way, dress a certain way, they got to make a certain income and all this other stuff. And all it's doing, in my opinion, is keeping these folks relevant. Like, all they're doing is teaching people how to be single, which is so crazy these days that we're taking bad advice when we can see the result. Like, when we've seen like celebrities and stuff like that end up in the positions that they're in, we're actually seeing what happens from all of the bad advice that we've been given, right? But one thing that I will say about me is that I guess after like growing up and everything, and I lived a very full life. I'm gonna say this. I think a lot of women rush into building a life and being in a relationship. And unfortunately, it does not allow for them to figure out who they are and what they want out of life. And it's so funny because it's like those same women that rush into these relationships and stuff, once they get at a point to where they're old enough to give advice because they've lived a little, it's like they're giving advice while omitting that they haven't taken the time to get to know themselves, if that makes any sense. So like, I have family members who got married super duper young, a lot of times out of necessity. And then they would tell those of us who were younger and going to school, hey, make sure you're taking care of yourself first. Don't ever have to depend on no man. When the reality is, it wasn't that they were dependent on a man per se, it was that they jumped into something without fully taking care of themselves. And then they took on commitments that they weren't ready for themselves, expecting that the person that they jumped in feet first with was going to help build them up or whatever. So I guess that's the long version of it. um, but they don't tell the full story, and I don't think that they even mean harm in it. But what ends up happening is later on you get people in the industry and stuff who are teaching that if you consume more and if you have the ability to consume, and what I mean is if you spend a lot of money, if you're flashy, if you got the latest styles and this and that, then you're more likely to get the person that you're looking for. Which, in a normal functional marriage, people who are always looking for that next thrill, they are going to be bored because life is mundane. A good life is a stable life. And I'm not saying you can't have excitement in life. I'm just saying when you're dealing with one person, when you're monogamous, you're growing with that person. And that person is growing with you. And that's a consistent process. It's relentless is what I should say. So like even like these celebrities, and I'm gonna start checking out like Love and Hip Hop and stuff like that because I just felt like, that was entertainment, but I'm starting to realize that these entertainers are starting to shape the way that we see ourselves in the way that we treat each other. Like people literally watch TV and they think that what's on TV is real, or they try to model after that, or they go for that, right? So I understand the single people on the internet, the really popular people on the internet that are like, I understand the whole gender war. That makes a lot of money. Keeping people agitated, keeping people angry, keeping people upset, that generates a lot of clicks and views. It does. Being chronically single, that generates a lot of consumption because it's always just you by yourself, right? On the flip side, being married, it doesn't benefit anybody, really, to be honest. It only benefits the person and their spouse because they're legally bound, right? So like no matter what you accumulate with a married person, everything that they have, 50% of what they have is entitled to their spouse automatically off rip. Like it's not like, and this is why I'm starting to understand like the appeal of like boyfriend and girlfriend, because it's like you can be on one track and then you can split. You're never really one track though, right? So you can always accumulate things, while never having to give up anything. So with that being said, the problem is long term as we get older and as there are more opportunities and more people out there, we can't continue to consume the way that we used to, or at least acquire the way we used to, which creates a dilemma that we need to be married, right? And it also makes me realize this too. It's so easy to market. Being single is so easy to market and it's so easy to sell. Like there are certain things that I just don't spend money on, my husband and I, because we're so invested in each other. And then we have our children that we're invested into. So whatever that we don't consume directly, our children, they grow from that, right? And here's the crazy part. When you have a union, like a marriage that's like legit, and you're dealing with most other people who don't have it, it's like you can pretty much see where everybody else is lacking. And also, if your union has lack in it, it's very easy for you to pick apart what people might see. So I mean, it's just so many. it's so difficult to explain. It's gonna take like a multitude of videos, but I've got time. But what I'm starting to realize is that marriage is not appealing because marriage requires a lot of responsibility and it requires a lot of growth. Um, it also requires a high level of maturity. And for anybody that's considering doing this, you have to really take time to think about it. It's a permanent thing and it's a final thing. Yeah, divorce is a thing too. Divorce is more appealing than marriage. It's more exciting. Um, but that's the thing. And when I say it's more appealing and exciting, is to say that most people can relate to it. So like now the challenge of my channel is how do I make real marriage, not the Hollywood or whatever, real day-to-day marriage, what they would call traditional marriage, how do I make that appealing, right? Um, or maybe not. I've even gotten to a point with my channel where I'm like, it's fun vlogging. Like I just recently got into vlogging or whatever. So it's fun to have the type of credentials that I have and the type of background that I have to be able to show people that there are still young Black people getting married, raising their children together, only having their children, no outside kids and stuff, because on the internet it is just plagued with, you know, dudes complaining about child support and single moms complaining about baby daddies and all that, or boasting about welfare. Like the way that Black women are depicted on the internet is just, it's sickening to me because, I'm just a regular Black woman. My husband, he's just a regular Black man. Like, and I know that's not like popular because we ain't got nothing wild going on. Like he works and I take care of the kids and I take care of the house and we just be chilling. So I just figured since I had a couple times out the day, I just go live real quick. And I do this every now and then, especially when Jazz is down. Like my daughter Jazz, she's off the chain. Um, but yeah, marriage is not like, I don't know. I guess TV try to make marriage seem like it's this big, shiny, glorious thing where you're gonna get a flood of emotion all the time. No, you're just building a life together. You know, um, you're just building each other up, and then you building your family. And in turn, hopefully, if you find like-minded people like you build a community, so on and so forth. Um, but yeah, that's just my quick spill on that.